today I'm going to take a look at two tower speakers. One is the Pioneer FS52 towers, and the other one are some new speakers from Dayton Audio, the MK442Ts. So I prefer towers just because you get more sound for a given space, and a lot of people prefer to get bookshelf speakers, but what they don't understand is you're probably going to have to get stands, so you're going to have to spend extra for those, and in the end, they're going to take about the same amount of space anyway. The Pioneers have three 5¼ inch drivers and a 1-inch silk dome tweeter. And they have a smaller version of these, a bookshelf version. They're the Pioneer BS22 LRs, which I previously reviewed, and I really like those. A lot of other people seem to like those as well. The MK442s are using two 4-inch drivers and a 3/4 inch soft dome tweeter. They also have a smaller version, which I previously reviewed, and those are the MK402. I really like those at my desk. This is pretty crazy on Dayton's part because they chose to use two 4-inch drivers, which is not typical for tower speakers. I felt like it was a challenge for them to try to figure out what was the smallest driver that they could put into a tower speaker and still produce bass and sound that would propagate into your living space. Looking at the enclosures themselves, you'll see that the Pioneer is curved towards the back, and on the back it has 2 ports and a 5-way binding post. The MK442s don't have ports in the back, they just have a 5-way binding post back there. And this is a transmission line design, so it has one giant port on the bottom behind this screen. They both claim a frequency response from 40 Hz to 20 kHz, and we'll see if that's true. I should also mention that the Pioneers are 6 ohms, so make sure that your amplifier can handle that. And the Daytons are 4 ohms, so definitely make sure that your amp can handle 4 ohms. So these are both inexpensive towers. They're both under $250, and the Pioneers are usually on sale for $199 for a pair. So the Pioneers were designed by Andrew Jones. I don't know if you may know him or not, but in the audio community, he is well known for producing very, very good speakers. And I have an interview with him, and I'll leave that in the description as well. So what are my thoughts about these two speakers? The Pioneers are known to have kind of like a sound signature that has rolled off top end. And, you know, that's what I kind of thought going into this, that they would have a rolled off top end, that they wouldn't have as much detail as the other one. Yeah, I can see why people think that. But later on, I'm going to get into the frequency response charts, and you'll see that that's not exactly true. The Dayton Audio MK series is known for having a very sharp top end. That's what I experienced with their bookshelves. These seem to have balanced that out because instead of having one driver, this has 2. So it equals that amount of high frequency with a little bit more of the bass and mid-range. The Pioneers, I really like the sound of these. So the main thing about the Pioneers is they just sound so smooth. They sound really smooth. Music I play through them, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. They just sound, they have more than enough bass in most situations. They're not going to produce bass below 30 Hertz or anything like that, but more than you need in most situations. Of course, you can add a sub, and of course, it'll make that a lot better. But they just sound so smooth to me and pleasing with everything. I can imagine that people who like the most detail possible are not going to like these for certain reasons. I'll get into that in a bit. The other thing about these Pioneers is I love the imaging on them. The soundstage can sound wide, and the image, the center image, is so realistic and so solid that you would swear that you're using a center channel speaker. It's that good. Now, the sound signature from the Daytons are a little bit, you know, they're very bright. They're still very bright, even though they have 2 4-inch drivers as opposed to 1. A lot of the people who like detail will see a rising top end or hear a rising top end, and they're gonna like that. The main thing about it is they're using a transmission line design, and the point of using a T-line design is to have extended bass frequencies and still keep the bass tight, as opposed to, let's say, a ported design. Sometimes the bass can get kind of sloppy. When I'm up close to the speaker, I notice that I can hear low frequencies that you would not expect from speakers this size. The thing I notice is that if I were to sit in my listening position, which is about 8 feet away, the bass would start to drop off drastically. So I wouldn't hear the same low frequency that I was able to hear close up. And that's not something that I experienced with the Pioneers. The Pioneers, you could hear the bass close up, and you can also hear them when you're sitting down, 10 feet away. And I think that's the main difference between these two. The Pioneers do a better job of filling a room. So I'm in a pretty big room here. And so if you have a smaller room, maybe both of them would be pretty equal. But if you have a mid-size or a larger room, I would definitely go with the Pioneers in that case. The other thing about the Pioneer that I really like is the off-axis response is really good. And I didn't know why that was, but after looking at the frequency response charts, I did notice that off axis, let's say 10 degrees, the high end was still very consistent compared to how it performed on axis. And this relates to how Andrew Jones voices his speakers. I think he knows what he's doing. And the Dayton Audios also had good off-axis response, and that helps with imaging as well. Looking at the chart here, you'll notice that 10 degrees off-axis, it's still very consistent with the on-axis response. So let's take a look at the frequency response of the Pioneers. So a lot of people think that these have rolled off highs, and as you can see, they are not rolled off. From about 8 kilohertz and up, you'll actually notice that it's a rising response. So why is it that people think that it's rolled off? I think what they're hearing is a slight dip between 3 kilohertz to 8 kilohertz. And that is the frequency that our ears are very sensitive to. It is rolled off in that area, but above 8 kilohertz, it is rising. So what does that do? What that does is it makes it so that it's not harsh when you're listening to music, but it still retains that top end detail. Compare that to the measurements from the Dayton, and you'll notice that the Dayton starts rising from 4 kilohertz up. So it starts rising much sooner, and you'll notice that with your ears. Very tricky stuff going on here, and I love it. As far as bass response, you can see that 40 hertz is a little bit of a stretch for both of these. You do hear those frequencies. I would say that they both produce frequencies down into the 50 hertz range. They do produce sound 40 hertz and below, but not very much. Still, they both have pretty decent bass for their size. So I'll have to put both of these on the speaker leaderboard and see how they perform. Okay, so here we are at the speaker leaderboard, and we're gonna have to place the Dayton MK442Ts. And so for best towers, for the MK442Ts, they're not better than the Wharfdale Crystal 4.3s that I reviewed, and they are not better than the ELAC F5.2, so I'm gonna have to put them right here. You know what? I'm gonna allow them to be on the best for desktop. I'm gonna put them right here under the Pioneer BS22 LRs. All right, so next up, these come in at $228 right now, so they're under $500. I think the sweet spot for these is really around $200. I think it would do really well, but because they're going to have to go in the under $500 category. Let's see. I'm going to put these. We've got a HomePod here. Kanto U4s. I'm going to put these. The U4. I'm going to put them right here between the U4 and the U6. Both of these have a lot of different features. But I would say that the MK442s sound better than the U4s. They still do sound better than the U6s, but it's closer here. It's just that these have a lot more features built in, but they are more expensive. So this is right under $500. I think $399, whereas this is at the very bottom end. They should really make this around $200 if they can. Okay, so that's where those will go. So best sound overall regardless of price. Where will I place these? They're not above those. They're not above those. We have a lot of great speakers here, so I'll put them above the HomePod. How about that? There they are. Now for the Pioneer FS52 towers, I'm gonna put these. Those Wharfdale Crystal 4.3s were good because they had a lot of bass extension. But they still didn't even image as well as these FS52s. Man, this is really tough. These Wharfdales are twice the price of these FS52s. I'm going to have to put them slightly below. That wouldn't be fair, I don't think. If I had to choose between the two, you know what? In certain cases, this could easily be here. Easily. If you care more about imaging and soundstage, I think the FS52s win. If you care more about bass response, then the Wharfdale Crystal 4.3s. Man, that's really close. You know what? Because these are half the price, I don't know. That's so tricky. That's so tricky. I'm gonna put them underneath. That's how close these are. Okay, so just know that these can easily be switched. All right, so best under $200. These are the best deal you could possibly get for under $200. The Fluence AI40s are powered, but just add a small amp to these. You don't have to have something very powerful. You know, the amp that I'm using is 20 watts per channel, and it runs these, and I'm happy with the sound in a pretty large room. So they're at the very top there. Now this is where it's gonna get real tricky. Where is it gonna fit in the best overall sound? They're gonna go above the bookshelves. They're gonna go above the Yamaha S803s for me. They're gonna go above the ELAC F5.2 debuts, and I know that's crazy, but I don't like the top end of these F5.2s as much as the Pioneers. I feel like these ELACs are they sound a little rough or harsh to me, and that's something I noticed about these. They have more bass, but they just don't sound as smooth. They don't image as well, in my opinion, and so I'll put them above those. They just won't go above the SVS Prime bookshelf. No, it can't go above these. No, it won't go. It won't beat these. I think it's safe to say I'm going to place these above these ELAC F5.2s. Sorry, ELAC. Sorry, Andrew Jones. I know that's not what you guys want me to say, but I just personally like these FS52s better. So there you have it. That's where they place on the speaker leaderboard. Okay, so there you have it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments and tell me if you think that I placed them in the right places. You might be surprised that I put $200 speakers so high up on the leaderboard. And yeah, they're just that good. Put it this way. I use these as my reference speaker when I'm comparing other speakers. I have them connected to my old school Marantz 2220B, and that thing is only putting out 20 watts, so not a ton of power. But what a great combination with the Marantz and these Pioneers. They just sound they sound fantastic. And so that's something that I compare other speakers to. Can they sound as smooth? Do they have as wide of a soundstage? Do they have as solid of a center image as these Pioneers? And they're $200. I mean, if you have extra money, go ahead and buy these, try them out, and tell me if I'm full of it. Tell me that these aren't as good as I'm saying they are, especially for $200. But not even forget $200. I've heard back from a lot of you guys that have these, and you guys agree. These are pretty amazing, hands down. Forget about the price. They're pretty amazing. Another thing that you might notice is that I put these above the ELAC debut F5.2 towers, also designed by Andrew Jones. Now those are more expensive, same designer, and you'd say like, why would you place these above those? I mean, to me, they sound better. To me, these sound more similar to my ELAC UB5s than the debut series does. And I've told this to Andrew Jones himself, and he didn't really correct me, so take that as it is. So overall, personally, I really like the Pioneers over the Daytons in most situations. In a living room, in a mid-sized room, or a larger room, definitely the Pioneers are the way to go. It sounds like a complete blowout, right? These Pioneers were designed by Andrew Jones, famous speaker designer. They have the curved cabinet, they have larger woofers, they have more bass that can travel further. A lot of the good things going for it. And for most people, I think that they're the right choice. And on top of that, they're actually less expensive than the Daytons. So why should anybody get the Daytons, right? Well, I'll tell you one use case. I ended up putting these Dayton Audios, get this, at my desk. I know it sounds crazy. This guy's crazy. He has tower speakers at his desk. First of all, yes, I am crazy. And second of all, it kind of makes sense because I have a small desk at home and I'm able to put these two tower speakers because they're so slim and because they're a little bit taller. I'm able to put them on the sides of my desk and I'm able to free up desk space that way. Before this, I had two Mica MB42Xs on my desk and I had a Mica MS10 subwoofer underneath the desk. And now I don't really need that sub because, like I said earlier, these produce good bass if you're close. So it's perfect for a desk situation if you have the space on the sides of your desk. Now, here at my office, I can't really do that because my desk is too wide. But if you have a smaller desk and you can put them on the sides, maybe something to consider. These are probably the ultimate desktop speaker, although they don't really fit on top of your desk. But yeah, they sound amazing. They sound like they sound like two huge speakers on the side of your desk. And like I'm saying, frees up desk space. It makes sense for me. So yeah, both of these are a bargain at their price. It's amazing that these guys can actually produce these speakers at this price. So the Pioneers I bought myself, and the Daytons were sent to me from Parts Express. Thank you to Parts Express. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. These are affiliate links, and so I get a cut if you buy something from there, but I'll leave a link to both of these in the description. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I upload new videos. And if you're interested in some of my binaural recordings that I've been doing, they are on my Patreon at patreon.com/JoeAndTell. Anyway, that's it for now. Take care. Bye-bye. Sound demos after this.
Shadow drew again. You sit alone, alone on the side.